Okay, hello everyone. My name is Marco, but you can call me Marco, and let's get reading. So I will warn you, I'm trying to finick with my camera settings. I've finicked with my mic settings. I've been finicky with my white balance settings, so things might look a bit different. I'm working on it. I had to re-record this because the white balance was crazy in the old version of the video. Let's just get started with this video. So I'm doing the end of the year book tag, right? So the first question is, are there any books you started this year that you need to finish? And so I have a few books I need to finish by the end of this year. One of them is Golden Girl. This is a middle grade book written in verse about this girl who is a kleptomaniac. She likes stealing things. And it's about her when one day her dad gets framed for embezzlement, even though she knows her dad didn't do the embezzling. So it's about her trying to steal back the item that was stolen in order to prove her dad innocent. I got halfway-ish to this book. I literally got to the part where the main character's dad started getting framed for embezzlement, and then I never finished the book. So I really need to finish this. I feel bad that I never finished this. I feel guilty about that. But yeah, I've been reading this. Hopefully I will like it. I have been enjoying it when I was reading it like a few months ago, so I really need to get back to this. I honestly don't know why I stopped reading this. I was really enjoying it. I just started focusing on other things, and I do that sometimes, which really annoyed me because I was like, if this was a really good book, I need to finish it. And then I also need to read Batman The Adventures Continue Season 3. I started reading this a few days ago. So I have this podcast with my friend Mao, and in that podcast we started doing this video called Rec for Rec, where we recommend each other media we think we would enjoy. And Mao recommended me reading Batman The Adventures Continue. This is a sequel series to the animated series Batman The Animated Series. I watched Batman The Animated Series when I was a kid, but I never really went back to it. So I was like, I should probably watch that first, but I was like, just read the comic. The TV show is too long to get to right now either way. I decided to just go straight to the comic, and I have been enjoying the comic somewhat. I enjoyed the first season of this comic. The second season dealt with characters and plot lines I never cared that much about, but this third season I'm hoping focuses a lot more on other characters that I actually do like. But so far I think it's focusing on characters I have no interest in. So, you know, I'm a few pages into this. I do plan on finishing it. Another book I plan on finishing before the end of the year is Remarkably Bright Creatures. This is a book that was recommended to me to my doctor the last time I saw him. I no longer see this doctor because I no longer need to see him. However, the last time we spoke, he recommended this book to me. He never told me what it was about, so I was like, I'll just pick it up, you know? It'd be interesting to see why he recommended this to me. So far, we're following a character who has this connection with this octopus, who is a janitor at an aquarium. And we also got introduced to a new character in one of the latest chapters, who I'm not sure how I feel about. I feel like I would have liked this better if it focused on the two characters that we were already introduced to. But hey, I'm only like 30-40 pages into this. I could be wrong. This could turn around. Just overall, I'm not that interested in this new character, but the other two characters I am really liking. And then the last book I plan on finishing by the end of the year is Making a Monster: The Science Behind Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. So recently, again with Mao, my friend Mao and I are doing a buddy read of Frankenstein, kind of. And then I saw this book at the library and I thought, wouldn't it be fun to do like a companion read with this book? I thought it would be fun, so I was like, sure, why not? Currently halfway through this book, and it got really interesting. The first part of the book is about Mary Shelley's history and like the personal inspirations. The meat of the book is really the scientific inspirations of what was going on in the time. There's a lot of weird scientific discoveries I learned through this book. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I strongly recommend this one. The next question is, do you have any autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? So I currently don't have any autumnal books. Fun fact, it's currently November. I feel like if I was going to have an autumnal book, I should have read it in October, but hey. However, I do have some books that I'm going to use to transition into the winter months because I plan on doing a Christmas reading vlog where I read a few Christmas short stories or Christmas books in general, and I thought it would be fun to do a little teaser of what I'm planning to read during that Christmas themed vlog. So one of the books I plan on reading is Frederick Bachman's A Deal of a Lifetime. I do know this is Christmas related. There is like illustrations in this, and like I thought the illustrations were nice. Like, see that illustration? Isn't that a snowy town? Pretty much all I know about it is that it's a story about Christmas and that also has illustrations in it, and it's also really short. All of the books I'm doing for the Christmas vlog were all found at the local library book sale, which is great. I found that really great. And then another book that I plan on reading is The Snow Queen by Hans Christian Andersen. I know this isn't a Christmas book, but I was like, it's snow related, it's winter related. I think I should count it as a Christmas book, at least as a winter themed book at least. So I do plan on reading this as well in the Christmas vlog. This also has illustrations, and I think the illustrations are really interesting and really unique. They're very much different from what I usually see in illustrated books, which I'm also excited to read about. Also, I love the feel of this cover. It's very cloth feeling. The next question is there a new release you're still waiting waiting for. I don't really buy new releases. I did have a pre-order coming up because, again, I hate to bring up Mal again, but I actually have a podcast with Mal. We plan on doing a review of the manga. The guy she was interested in wasn't a guy at all. And I actually have already read the first 2 volumes of the series, but the 3rd is coming out this month in November. So I pre-ordered it, and that's the only new release I'm waiting for this year. Pretty much I don't keep track of new releases. This is the only new release that I'm actually waiting for because I did pre-order it and because I am going to do a review on it later on the podcast. So, you know, that's pretty much the only book I'm keeping track of. And then the next question asks, what are 3 books you want finished by the end of the year? However, I want to be a bit ambitious. I'm going to talk about more than 3 books. So let's go ahead and talk about those books. So I want to quickly talk about some manga. I feel like I haven't talked about manga at all in this video, and I am mostly a manga and comics channel. Well, mostly comics, sometimes manga. I have a few manga I want to read before the year ends. One of them is God Bless the Mistaken by Nakatani Neo. Nakatani Neo is one of my favorite authors, at least when it comes to manga. The author wrote one of my favorite manga of all time, Bloom Into You, and I absolutely adore Bloom Into You, so I was really excited to hear that the author had come out with a new series and that the series was also complete. So I read the first 3 volumes already. I do want to finish this last volume before the year ends. I am curious to see how this ends because I feel like there's a lot of unanswered questions that could come up later on. I also feel like there's one character that we haven't gotten enough of a focus on in the series, and I'm curious to see if we're going to get a focus on her at all, because I feel like I am really excited about the series, but also I feel like it could be so much more, so I'm curious to see how it ends. I also want to complete the entire series of number 6. I started doing a reading vlog where I read manga from a TBR spinner, and so one of the manga series chosen for me on the TBR spinner was number 6. However, I ended the vlog before I could ever finish this series. I plan on getting back to this. I feel like I would enjoy this as well, and I was enjoying the anime when I watched it a long time ago, so I plan on reading this as well and completing the series. This is basically a BL dystopian where we follow a main character who lives in this utopia but is kicked out of the utopia because he finds out some secrets about the world, and it's about him and this character Rat trying to break down the utopia and trying to make a peaceful world for everybody. And then another manga series I want to finish, or at least catch up on, is the case study of Vanitas. I started reading this again for the TBR manga spinner vlog, but I never finished it. And this follows a main character who is a vampire trying to like solve some cases around vampires. Seems to be like some mysteries going on in the world. Also, I do have some issues with it too. I'm hoping that this fixes the issues, but I don't think it will. Mostly the way one of the specific female characters was written kind of gave me bad vibes, so I'm curious to see if it goes anywhere better with that. I doubt it will though. So I'm going to catch up with all the volumes I own, and if it doesn't fix my issues, I'm probably not going to finish this. Next, let's talk about a novel I want to finish this year, and that is Ephraim Divided. I bought this book at a thrift store because it was cheap, but also because it seemed like an important read. This follows a main character whose, I believe, father gets deported, and it's about him trying to like recover from this effect in his family. Yeah, it seems like an important read, especially with what's going on currently with deportation. I do plan on reading this by the end of the year. And then I also want to talk about some non-fiction that I need to finish by the end of the year. The first of these books that I want to finish by the end of the year are 2 TED Talk books. I recently found out that TED Talk comes out with their own non-fiction books, and I was like, I have to try these out. I read one of them, I really enjoyed it, and now I have 5 other TED Talk books I have not finished yet, but I do want to read. One of them is Why Dinosaurs Matter. This seems to be a book written by a paleontologist explaining the science of dinosaurs. And the other one is Asteroid Hunters, which is another sciencey book, but this time about asteroids. Both seem like really fun reads. I'm really excited to get to these. I absolutely enjoy that TED Talk comes out with their own books because a lot of the books that TED Talk comes out with are books that I personally would really enjoy. I also do have another few TED Talk books I might read by the end of this year, but I'm not 100% sure. And then the last book that I want to read is a chunker. This is Braiding Sweetgrass. This seems to be a book about foraging and like plant life from an indigenous perspective. The author is indigenous and writes about what it's like to do foraging and plant stuff and plant life in general. This is probably one of the only nonfiction books I've heard that gets a lot of buzz, and I'm really excited to read this. It sounds interesting. It sounds fun. Those are the books I want to finish by the end of the year. The next question is, what trends have you noticed in your reading this year? So first of all, I've been reading a lot more manga and comics. I feel like most of my reading is manga this year, and that's because I have so much of manga. Most of my physical TBR is manga and comics, so I was like, I really need to get down my manga and comics TBR because it is getting out of hand. My TBR overall was getting out of hand, and I've been able to lower it by a lot this year, but I still have to lower it some more. How do you feel about your reading goals? Anything you want to change, adjust, or abandon? One of my reading goals was to read down my manga and comics. Done a good job reading down my manga, not a good job reading down my comics and graphic novels. I have read some graphic novels and in comics this year, but not enough in my opinion. After I take down my manga TBR, the next TBR I need to take down is my comics TBR. And I do plan on doing a reading vlog where I just read through a bunch of comics because I feel like that'd be really good and that would get me through a lot of them. Another goal I had was my TBR minimize videos. TBR minimize is a series I've been doing on my channel where I try to get my TBR down to 100 or lower. Originally, I was like, I need to get my TBR down to 100, but now I'm kind of like, I need to get my TBR completely down to 0. I just need to be free from the huge amount of TBR I have. So that's kind of the goal. I know it's going to be a multi-year long project. I definitely can't get it done in 1 year just because of how many books I own. But yeah, that's going to be one of the goals for the following few years. Hopefully I finish it. But yeah, I'm going to keep going strong with that goal specifically. I do plan on doing some other reading goals next year as well. And the next question is, have you already started making reading plans for the next year? Yes, kind of. I do definitely want to do another manga TBR spinner. I do want to do more TBR minimized videos as well in general. Also, I do want to do a 24 books I want to finish by the end of 2026 video. I feel like those types of videos are really common and I feel like I want to do my own version. I feel like most people do 12 books, but I want to do 24 so that I can read 2 books a month and try to get those down at least. Anyways, you guys, that's my end of the year book tag. Check out my podcast with Mel. It's called the Cartoon Soup Podcast. We talk about cartoons, animation in general. That's everything for now, so goodbye.